Hello, 6A, my fellow teachers, and any welcome guests in our classroom. My name is Shannon, and this is my oral presentation. As you know, we've been talking a lot this year about Canadian identity. We've talked about traditions, cultures, symbols, and migration. So when I assigned this project, I was really excited because for me, I got the opportunity to interview somebody as well. I interviewed my mother. My mom's name is Beverly Adams, and she has lived in Canada for 41 years. That's almost 50 years, meaning that's almost half a century. And in all that time, my mother and my father have created a lovely life and a happy home for me and my siblings. But before she immigrated to Canada, she was born in a city called Kingston on an island named Jamaica. When I asked my mom why she left Jamaica to come to Canada, she said at first she didn't know. Being a young girl living in Jamaica with her parents, which are my grandparents, did not like the government in charge. The government of Jamaica at the time was being very rude and disrespectful to the people of the country. So, my grandparents decided they wanted their children to live in a city or a land that gave them enough opportunities to become a successful person. My grandparents decided they were moving to Canada. Now, before my mother and her siblings could move to Canada, my grandparents went ahead of them to make a life. So, when they reached here, for 5 years, they got jobs, they bought a house, and they made a home so that their children would feel welcome when they came. And in those 5 years, my mother and her siblings lived with their grandparents in Jamaica until it was time to move. On March 21st, 1975, Beverly Adams got on a plane at the age of 12 to come to Toronto. She told me the first thing that she saw were the lights over the city as she flew by. And the first thing that she felt was the cold. It was freezing outside. Can you imagine coming from a country like Jamaica that's hot all year round, has no winter months, to a city like Toronto in the middle of winter? That was my mom's first big challenge that she had to overcome. Another challenge my mom had to overcome was learning how to navigate around the city. Being in Jamaica at a young age, she didn't do much traveling by herself. But as she came to Canada, she wanted to view everything possible. She wanted to know the city that she was going to live in. So, her and her family went out with a big map to show where they would want to go. Now, today, when we take the bus or the subway, there's usually a person who tells us where we are on the map or what stop we can get off at. That wasn't possible for my mom. That technology didn't exist yet. So, while she walked around, she would ask people on the street if she was getting lost, where she could go. And because people were so friendly, they would help her. Something else that my mom had to get used to was some of the cultural differences. She soon made friends in school, and those friends would invite her over to places like their houses. But when she got to their homes, she would automatically take off her shoes. And their parents would tell her, "No, that's okay. Don't take off your shoes. It's fine." But in Jamaica, it is respectful to take off your shoes before entering a house. Although it was hard for my mom to settle into Canada at first, I think she had many opportunities from being here. One of those opportunities was her vision. Growing up in Jamaica, she went to the doctor regularly, and everything seemed okay. She seemed to be a very healthy girl. But when she got a doctor's visit here in Toronto, they were viewing her eyes and realized that she had a very rare condition called myopia. Myopia is an eye condition that many people refer to as nearsightedness, meaning she couldn't see really far away. And that really was difficult for her going to school because sometimes she would sit in the back of the class. Because of our wonderful healthcare system, my mother was able to get help to see better. And I think that was a really good accomplishment, and she's very grateful these days for it. because now she's able to read much better, even though she wears glasses. I asked my mom if she considers herself to be a Canadian, and with a big smile, she told me, "Yes, of course I